Hey, what's up, and welcome back. It's been a long time since we've done a Ripe review.
Since August.
Yeah, since August, but I'm here, Joe.
And this is Sean.
Yeah, we're coming back at you with some Ghostbusters.
Or, should we say Dr. O'Rourke and
Dr. Scola? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Before we get into this, though, I just want to say thanks again, and I hope you guys have enjoyed our Ghost Giving for Thanks Garbage this year and celebrating all things Ghostbusters. We had 2 great watch-alongs of Ghostbusters 1 and 2, and we still got some real Ghostbusters episodes coming out. I think one just dropped the day before, and you're going to get another one tomorrow, and keep an eye out for that commentary track for Ghostbusters 2016 over on Patreon. And you can catch those replays of Ghostbusters 1 and 2 over on Patreon as well at the $5 or $10 tiers.
Yep. Along with everything else. All the old watch-alongs throughout the year that we did, commentary tracks, and those minisodes like we did last month, the Alf and Family Matters Halloween specials.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, he's on the poster, Joe. Franken Turkey, baby. You get the fucking Neutrona wand, the nuclear accelerator, and the trap. You get the whole damn thing. You get the whole damn thing over there. Yeah, we got it from Egon's fucking dirt farm, to be perfectly honest.
So, yeah, we hope you guys are enjoying it. With that being said, this past Friday, we went to go see Ghostbusters Afterlife in IMAX.
Yeah.
Sean and myself and our better halves went to go see it after a nice little dinner and a movie.
Yep.
And spoilers, we liked it a lot.
Yeah, and on these Ripe reviews, we usually like to give a little bit spoiler free in the beginning before we really get into all the details of the film.
Yeah.
So I just want to say this up front. For people that are... I know a couple people that just are going into this film with the idea that it's going to suck because there's kids are the stars. Egon's grandchildren, which I don't think is a big spoiler. I hate to say this, but I feel like you're just not going to like it then.
No.
Because they are the focus of this movie. And I kind of love them. They do a really good job. But if you don't want that, you're not going to like this. Straight up.
It's just not for you. I've been seeing a lot of people saying things like, there's only the original, it won't stack up to the original, and this and that, and blah, 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 and I hate Ghostbusters 2, and all this shit. And it's like, you complained about 2016. Because there was no fucking original Ghostbusters in it.
Well, the actors were in it, but they were not the actual Ghostbusters.
Right, but it wasn't technically quote-unquote Ghostbusters 3.
Right.
Now we get this one, and you're fucking complaining that we get the Ghostbusters come back, and it's part of the lore and all that shit, and it's too samey and all that kind of stuff, which we'll get into in the spoiler portion of this.
I just don't know what people were really expecting. You're 32 years removed from 1 and 2.
Yeah, 32 years removed from 1 and 2, and it's like, if we got this movie in 2016, I don't know if people would be more into it. Since we lost Harold Ramis and like that, and that
right
plays into bringing back the original Ghostbusters, because it's like, well, one of them's passed away, and I think people wanted that third movie to be all 4 original Ghostbusters for most of the movie, and then passing the torch or what have you.
Right, and I think we would all agree that if they made that in the 90s or early 2000s, sure.
It would have been fine. Like, I don't think people would be complaining as much. Maybe. Question mark.
I mean, you're always going to have those people that are going to complain.
Yeah.
Whether they like the first 1, 2, or 2016, you can't please everybody, Joe. We know this.
No, but I'm happy that we finally got this film.
Agreed.
And it feels good. It feels like, that's another thing. People are like, the fucking nostalgia, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm blinded by nostalgia. Like, I'm not blinded by nostalgia. I know what I like, and I know when something's hitting me over the head with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
There are a lot of things in this film that either directly come from or harken back to those movies, and it's kind of the point, right? It's a sequel. It's not a fucking reboot. Like, of course, there's a lot of people saying, like, they turned on the fucking proton packs and you hear the noise and the Ecto 1, there it is, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like,
of course.
Yeah, again, we're 32 fucking years removed from the original story. So you have to kind of blend that original storyline with a new storyline.
Right.
And I think it does that successfully. No, I didn't think this was the best movie ever made, but I thought it was a pretty fucking good Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there have been a couple other movies that I did enjoy a little bit more this year, but as Ghostbusters 3, which is, I'm going to call it that straight up, it's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it's Ghostbusters 3, no doubt.
And I just wanted to bring that up just because, like you have said, Joe, I've been seeing a lot of that online. I mean, some people really like it too. I mean, let's not even try to, beat around the bush about that. But you're seeing like this vitriol that I'm just like not really understanding.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. The contrarian opinion solely to not be like, I liked it or it was fine. Like, people are, I feel like, going out of their way to fucking be like, look at me, I hate this movie, it sucks, kind of shit. And it's like, go fuck yourself. Like, I would love to see you fucking write something that is even half as coherent and inclusive as this film is. Like, as far as getting everything back together, and I know I want to go into it a little bit more in spoilers, and you're probably saying, Joe, you're talking like an asshole, but I'm going to bring up some points. But I just don't understand it, and that's not my blind love of Ghostbusters, okay? I love Ghostbusters, but when I give my opinion on films, it has nothing to do, like, I'll be the first one to tell you that a movie sucks. I'll still like it, but I'll tell you exactly why it's not good, right?
Right, no, yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and suck Ghostbusters' dick and tell you that it's the best movie ever, because it's not, and there are things that I don't like about it, but the positives outweigh the negatives for me, in this go-round. It just does.
Yeah, same.
And if that's something you can't get past or accept and can't just sit down and fucking enjoy it, then that's your problem, okay?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me, and this is not indicative of the film itself, but our Terminator Salvation conversation from a couple years back, where it's just like, yeah, some people legitimately just didn't like it, and that's
sure.
Fine, that's their opinion, but I feel like there was a lot of people just jumping on the bandwagon, just complaining about this film. But, you know what, maybe they didn't get any Ecto Cooler, Joe, maybe they're just burned.
See, maybe that's the reason, right? They got fucked, right? High C didn't give them the Gatorade bottle full of Ecto Cooler. They got all sore about it, maybe.
Yeah. But on that note, I want to talk about some things that I did like that are not quite spoilers.
Okay.
Jason Reitman does a really good job with this film overall. His camera direction, the lighting, the special effects, both practical and digital, are all great in this movie.
Yeah, there's a very good marriage of the practical and the CGI in this, and we have some really great effects artists working on this film. Look, don't shoot me. I didn't write a fucking list of them down because for the ripe reviews, I try to just go by just my brain and remembering it.
Sure.
But Norman Cabrera did a lot of the sculpting on this film and he's like prolific SPFX artist, and there was a ton of people that worked on this, and a ton of people that deserve a lot of credit because they were able to bring back all the things that we love about this franchise in a new way, a fresh new way, and it felt really good to see them opt for practical with the assistance of CGI for sure, but like for the most part, with the exception of like the little marshmallow men, there is a lot of practical shit in this.
We'll get to them.
Sure.
I guess, but I only have a couple other things I can really say that aren't spoiler territory, because I know the definition of spoilers is different for every person, but all the casting I thought was really good.
Yeah.
The main kid characters are great. Phoebe, Podcast, and Trevor, the three main kids, are great, and even Finn Wolfhard's girlfriend, I think her name was Lucky, or not girlfriend, but his love interest, they were all good.
I thought they were great. I thought the kids were great. And again, that's another stigma that we were talking about, like everybody complaining, like, it's Stranger Things. It's like, motherfucker, where were you when Goonies came out, and The Monster Squad, and Explorers, and fucking Flight of the Navigator? Like,
Little Monsters.
This is what this movie is, and I know that kind of pisses some people off because for whatever reason, they think like Ghostbusters is like the greatest comedy of all time, and that it's just a comedy written for adults. News fucking flash. It's one of the greatest sci-fi horror comedies of all time, and it was PG, and it was PG for a reason, right?
Yeah.
It was for kids and adults.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was. I'll argue a little bit that it was more catered towards adults, but there was a lot of material for just kids in that movie, no doubt about it.
Dude, I think it was just a product of the time. I mean, even kids' movies then still had a lot of adult-orientated themes, and it's not...
Yeah.
Because, you know why? It didn't treat kids like they were fucking idiots. You know what I mean? Like, they're little grown-ups, you know what I mean? Especially teenagers, or young adults, rather.
Yeah, when you say that, I just immediately go to fucking Mac and Me with that kid in the wheelchair going off the cliff.
I love that movie, and I know it sucks, but I love it. You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you till I'm blue in the face what's wrong with that film. Again, but I still like it.
And speaking of adults, I thought the adult characters were fine, Actually, Paul Rudd I thought was hilarious. I kind of wished he was in it a little more. And the mother, Callie, was pretty good. I like her being kind of the foil to her kids, just trying to, get through her fucking life without everything falling apart.
Sure. There's a big emotional weight in this movie that, there are parts in the first one and even the second one, but this one, that through line has a lot of emotional weight to it. And... whether that being because the Harold Ramis thing or just in general, I mean, that's the story they wanted to tell. And I think it's a very heartfelt, sort of sentimental way of doing that, but also still having a lot of action and horror elements and sci-fi and jokes and all that kind of stuff. It's a good marriage of everything, really, in my opinion.
The action in this movie is awesome.
Yeah.
And to talk about it, I kind of want to move into spoilers, to be honest.
Sure. I just want to note that I jumped 3 fucking times in the theaters.
Yeah, they get you with a couple jump scares for sure.
They hit you with a couple jump scares, and they got me every time, and it was just weird for that to happen to me. You know what I mean? Because I didn't expect them, so that was kind of neat. It was exciting, put it that way.
Yeah.
Without further ado, you want to get into the spoilers of this, the ectoplasm?
Yeah.
If you have not seen Ghostbusters Afterlife, we implore you. Go fucking see the movie before you continue the rest of this show. Or if you like to be spoiled, keep listening.
Yeah, because I'm going to start right off with the big gun.
Whip it out, baby.
Egon Spengler.
Dude.
Is handled, in my opinion, and I think you'll probably agree with me on this, Joe, perfectly.
100%. If they're going to do it, they did it the absolute way that they should have. It's heartfelt. It means something. It's not, they don't just bring him back.
Right.
Because we do see him appear as a ghost. Spoilers. We're in spoiler territory, so here we go.
Yeah.
They bring him back as a ghost. And I got to tell you something. He looks fucking amazing.
I said to Joe in the theater, I said, they got to get the Star Wars people, got to hire their effects people.
Right. Well, I don't think Jason or anybody on the team was going to let Harold Ramis be done in a poor way.
No.
Just no way. That wasn't an option.
Because they do this great thing, too. Like you just said, Joe, you have him as a ghost at the end, and it's kind of like... I kind of swelled up a little as it was happening, especially the moment at hand when they're in the big confrontation at the end with the other Ghostbusters.
I cried straight up.
But they also do this cool thing in the beginning, which you may have seen in some of the trailers, where they have a body double, but he's mostly cast in shadows and just kind of has the glasses and the frame of Egon and the hair. So it works. You don't feel like it's it's just some random asshole. That's not fucking Harold Ramis. It's no, you buy into it.
It's very well done. And I commend them for that.
And I honestly didn't expect the ghost of Egon to kind of be the one leading them through this whole movie, but it worked really well.
I love it because, again, it's that thing of getting all the elements in over the years of all the things that people wanted, they've kind of rolled into this one amalgamation of a movie, right? So you get a little bit of the team getting back together, you get a little bit of the passing of the torch, you get a little bit of the them guiding a new team or what have you, and it makes more sense to me if you're going to do it this way. And again, to pay homage to Ramis, to have it his family and be the ones that are experiencing it, the supernatural activity and going to this farmhouse and him kind of guiding Mckenna Grace because she's the only one that'll actually listen or is skeptical enough to kind of follow in his footsteps.
She was great. I know I kind of already said that her and Finn Wolfhard, her brother in this movie, and their friend Logan Kim, who plays podcast, they all do a great job. But Paige Spengler in this movie, I love this character a lot. I feel like some people are gonna be like, oh, well, it's just a kid. Why is she so smart? And it's like, she's EGON'S granddaughter. Of course she is.
Why not? But what is so fucking weird and bizarre about that you can't get past it, Why? Because she's a little girl? Is that your fucking problem? Because you can't identify with her?
But I kind of love that because she's smarter than everybody else in the room, and I kind of also like that she goes to summer school because she doesn't want to just hang around at the house helping her mom clean the attic. So that's where she meets her friend Podcast, which I just gotta say, I that probably had some people rolling their eyes, but I fucking love that this kid's name was Podcast and he does a podcast and he's walking around with this microphone.
Well, what's funny about that, because I heard about that and I was like, oh, that sounds stupid. But then when I watched it, I was like, oh, this is fine. Like, this is fine, and I get the joke.
Especially for a young kid trying to do his basically his sci-fi, Fox Mulder fucking podcast. Something that obviously we
his
find
Strange
out...
and Unexplained podcast, which comes back full circle in the end, which I thought was hilarious.
Yes.
It really came into... The show really came into its own around episode 47, Sean, so...
46?
46, excuse me. That has to be noted.
Yeah. But Phoebe I really like because she kind of figures out... along with Paul Rudd's because he's a seismologist, basically being like a teacher for the summer school, that something's off, about this town. And it only really started in the last 10 years. And it kind of as you're watching the movie, you're even kind of putting the pieces together as an audience member, because in that opening scene, you see Egon, with this fucking ghost trap. And you find out later that it was one of the terror dogs, I believe, or maybe it might have even been Gozer straight up in that thing.
No, it's one of the new terror dogs, which I believe are the Sentries.
I think that's what they called them, yeah.
Yeah, they have the upturned horns and they're bipedal, and there's two of those that are kind of that's one thing I want to talk about because we get a new terror dog, but they're only in it for a second and we never see them again. One of them kills Egon in the beginning, and the other one's let back out in the trap, and they go back up to the fucking mine because Ivo Shandor's mine is there, and that is where they got all of the stone,
right?
Psychokinetically charged,
like the girders for the apartment complex.
Well, the stone to build the girders and to make, and that's how he made the Spook Central in Ghostbusters, which I'm totally fucking into. I like that.
I'm of two minds of it because I like the way that it's utilized in the film, going back to Gozer, it works in the movie, but on paper I'm kind of we're doing Gozer again, really?
Well,
but it's executed fairly well in the film up until I don't know if we want to get into this yet.
Hold on, don't get ahead of yourself. The Gozer stuff in this. Okay, so the main baddie's Gozer. There it is.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with it for the sole reason of it's a cult, right? It's and I've mentioned this before. It's almost similar to Cthulhu in the way that this god is worshipped and kind of brought back and through the ancient Sumerians and all that kind of shit, and the whole thing with Ivo Shandor, and it expands a little bit on that lore. The lore that doesn't exist in the first movie, that one?
Ivo Shandor, played by J.K. Simmons, which...
J.K. Simmons.
I was sitting there is that Vince Schiavelli? And I'm like, he's been dead for 8 years.
I was talking to Fiora LaGuardia for 2 hours in my bedroom last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I don't have a problem with Gozer. Again, Gozer is the Cthulhu of the Ghostbusters mythos, right?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Really, when you get down to brass tacks, and it's okay to kind of do that because they didn't really defeat Gozer at the end; they just kind of closed the door. But this one definitively, puts Gozer in a trap.
And I guess that's where I was going with that before I sidetracked myself. But you kind of get from literally the opening scene. You start putting these pieces together of what the hell was Egon doing out here? Because he has this trap that he's kind of coaxing Gozer towards him, which you find out later was actually his plan all along.
Right.
It didn't work because the fucking electricity on this farm is shitty as hell.
Yeah.
He hits this switch to activate his quote unquote trap, and the power grid fails, and it basically ends up being his demise.
He hadn't tested it, I guess, and there's not enough power for the trap to work.
And we come back to that later in the film.
Yeah, for sure. I got to tell you something too. So for all the Ghostbusters tiebacks to the first movie, I want to talk a little bit about, I can sit here all day and wax poetic about fucking, the
first few films.
The first few films, yeah, but the proton packs and the sounds and the Ecto 1 and the fucking PKE meter and all of that stuff. It's all here. It's all great. It all looks great. It all sounds great. It all feels great.
Yeah.
But I like the new dynamic here, right? We're not in New York City. We're in some town in Summersville. What is it? Summersville, Oklahoma, I believe.
Yeah.
And I've heard people say like, "Oh, this feels like a Steven Spielberg movie or an Amblin movie or something like that." And it's like, that's okay with me.
Yeah.
It's okay with me because it's supposed to fill you with like a sense of wonder and fun, and this is like a kid adventure movie, more or less. That's what this is, okay? And I'm with it, and I love the way that it made me feel because like when I was a kid, all I wanted to do was be a Ghostbuster. And the kids in this movie kind of get to do that, and I'm fucking so here for that shit, man. When Mckenna Grace finds the pack in Egon's like hidden lab.
Oh, like that basement that has his spores, molds, and fungus.
Oh, it has this whole collection of spores, molds, and fungus. But she gets the pack, and her and Podcast go out into like this field, and they fucking fire up the proton pack. And they're shooting it, dude. It was so much fun to just watch them shoot this fucking thing.
Yeah. They annihilate it, by the way.
They annihilate it, and then they like find that Ghost Muncher or whatever, the one from all of the promo shit.
Yeah, I like the design of this ghost, but he's very clearly supposed to be the Slimer of this film.
Yeah, but
I like the whole concept of this ghost eats metal and then can shoot it back at you.
Yeah,
and they work it into the film in a really cool way in a later scene where they're trying to get like something out of like a fucking jail locker, and they're like, "What the hell are we gonna do? We can't get this shit out of here." And Podcast is like, "I know what to do," and he releases Muncher and he just fucking bites his way out of there.
I was kind of into it, and what I really appreciated, they just went full on real Ghostbusters. We even get that fucking bug-eyed ghost, the toy, is like in the movie, which is fucking cool.
Yeah. With the giant eyeball?
Yeah, man. I just thought that was so fun. It's a good time. It's a feel-good kind of fucking movie, man, like for sure.
Yeah.
And you could say that that's not like the original because guess what? It's not. It's not.
No, yeah.
Stop fucking comparing it to the original movie, please. All right? It's 2021, and for a movie to come out in 2021 and have this kind of heart I think is rare in general.
I agree. On Muncher, though.
Yeah.
That is probably, in my opinion at least, the best action sequence in the film. Is them in the Ecto 1 that Finn Wolfhard, fixes up with a little help from Egon. I don't know if everybody caught that, but
he also helps Mckenna Grace do the proton pack too.
Yes. Figure out because you keep saying like basically he keeps like moving through the house and lights turn on, and it's really well done, and like he shines light on like his picture and stuff. It's like a blink and you miss it kind of thing. But Trevor, aka Finn Wolfhard, he's trying to start the engine, he can't get it to start, and you just see the engine kind of like come together. Egon's piercing it back together for him.
Yeah, he's twisting that wire together and the engine starts and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's very cool. I mean, like, again, okay, so I alluded to this in the opening, but people are comparing this to like a Force Awakens situation. And it's like, I like Force Awakens. I liked where they were going with it, right? Like,
right.
Albeit those two sequels took a shit, but like what we're doing here is we're bringing the old and the new together in one movie.
I would agree.
And I think it successfully does that. It's a good goodbye to the Ghostbusters or a good wrap-up to the Ghostbusters to see them all again. But it's also a pretty... I would say it's a pretty interesting future if we're going to get sequels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with that.
Whatever that may be.
Look, I don't know if I need more Ghostbusters, but I'll be there for it for sure. You know what I mean?
No, same. But, when Finn gets that car going and they have this big chase sequence with the Ecto, and you have fucking Paige has the car seat fucking flip out, and she's got the fucking Neutrino wand, and she's just firing at Muncher, and this whole town is getting destroyed.
They're just ruining, dude. It's great. It's like the Sedgwick Hotel in a more action packed set piece. And I'm with it. It's just great from the gunner seat and all that. Yeah, Sean.
And it's kind of like an elongated chase scene. Like you think it's over, and it's like, nope, we're going after him again. Chase this fucking ghost.
And you could sit there and be like, oh, that's like Slimer from the first movie. Well, yeah, kinda it is.
I mean, I kind of said that a couple minutes ago, but it's not handled the same. Like,
no, right.
Again, like Slimer just slimes you, and he drinks some wine, and he makes a mess of a fucking ballroom. Like, I love Slimer, don't get me wrong, but like this ghost was like it had a little bit of charm to it that I wasn't anticipating, and it has a cool design. It has like 3 or 4 arms.
It looks like a sea bear, is what it looks like an isopod.
Exactly, and when they try to sneak up on it, it always has like these like looks on its face, like, you think you're being sneaky? You know, it doesn't say that, but it's got that kind of look on its face before it freaks out and starts running away, or flying away rather.
Sure. Yeah, what I meant before was like other people comparing it to the Sedgwick, and like we get it. Like, of course.
I also love how they have like an RC car that has a trap attached to it that a podcast is controlling to catch Muncher.
My favorite part about that is that's old tech. That was in the car, right? They didn't make that, right? Like, it's just another toy that we just haven't seen that's part of the original equipment.
I feel like everybody had a hand in that besides Venkman. I feel like that was a Winston Egon Ray operation right there.
That was an Egon Ray operation, period.
All right, well, Winston was definitely fucking controlling it, though, because I don't trust either of them with that hand remote.
He was tuning up the Ecto one, dude.
I will say, I felt like this movie took a little long to get going. Like, you don't get your real first... Outside of that cold open with Egon, you really don't ever see a ghost for, like, another half hour. And then, pretty much, like, from there on, it doesn't really lose steam. But... I like the character building. You're getting to meet the characters, don't get me wrong. And I know, like, I've complained about this on the show in the past. Like, I don't know, maybe I just kind of need something to happen right off the bat.
They did. It was the Egon sequence.
No, I know. But I guess, like, I was just waiting for, like, the next shoe to drop. And when it did, I was very happy about it once Muncher shows up.
Call me old-fashioned. I like the exposition. I want to care about these characters so that later... everything that happens I care about, and that's what happened, because I did. I cared about everything that happened to these fucking characters.
No, it's hard to explain, because I'm agreeing with you 100%. It's just, I don't know, I was like, I wouldn't go so far to say I was checking my watch, but I was just like, all right, let's get onto the ghost, please, and then we did, and I was fine. But that might be my biggest complaint, and that's like, if that's the biggest problem I have with it, then I guess it's not that big of a deal, honestly.
Yeah, I don't have many gripes. Look, it has its problems. It's not a perfect fucking movie, don't get us wrong. I think there's 2 things that I don't like about this movie.
Lay it on me.
So let's just start with the first one, because I think this might be a little bit more lengthier. So after the fucking excursion with Muncher and blowing, like ruining part of the town, the kids are brought in by the police. So they're in a jail cell, waiting for their mother and Paul Rudd to come pick them up. And Mckenna Grace gets one phone call, and she decides to call the number that was in the original promo ad for Ghostbusters, which just happens to be the number for Ray's Occult Books. And it's
right,
and that's fine. All that's fine. I don't care.
Yeah, I was into that.
I was fine with that. I wasn't crazy about the way that they handled the exposition in this scene, because if she picked up the phone and was like, is this Ray Stantz? And she's like, he used to be a Ghostbuster. He's like, okay, I'm hanging up now. And then she was like, wait, you knew Egon Spengler. He was my grandfather. I feel like he would be more receptive to that right out of the gate.
No, yeah.
And it would have made more sense for him to tell her why the Ghostbusters disbanded. But that's the last thing she tells him, is that she's his granddaughter, right?
Right.
So it's a little weird when he tells... He says, oh, well, Venkman's doing this, and Winston's doing this, and I did this, and, Spengler could go to hell, and that fucking hit me right in the gut, too. I was like, oh, no. I was like, what happened between these guys?
He doesn't say just go to hell. He says, Egon Spengler can burn in hell.
That's what it was, yeah.
I kind of agree with you. I do like that, though, a lot, so I'm not as hard on it, but I see what you're saying.
Look, everything he says is fine. It just feels that exposition dump has such a small window.
Yeah.
Like, I would have liked it to give it a little bit more breathing room, and I would have liked to seen it handled in a little different of a way. That's all. And again, it's a minor complaint. Like, I'm still fine with it.
Yeah. It's also like Ray gets a pretty long scene here.
Yeah.
Compared to some of the other Ghostbusters. It's like a minute or 2 thing with him talking to Paige. Yeah, I you know what it is? I feel like they wanted to end on that note that she says she's Egon Spengler's granddaughter, because then the police chief, Lucky's father, as you find out, hangs up on her, and then you just kind of see Ray like, whoa, what'd you say? And then it's like,
yeah,
all right, they're coming now, but like he doesn't say that, but you just know it's like, as you're watching the movie, something's gonna happen now.
Yeah, there's one thing I don't buy. I don't buy that Egon was like, Ray, there is a fucking huge event that's going to happen and the world is going to end, and for Ray to just be like, yeah, whatever, I don't believe you. I just think that's not good. I think that was not good. I wish it was something else. Like, they could have left it about the money situation, and like all of that was perfect, and I could totally buy that happening in real life. Like, the money wasn't there, tensions were high, and the friends broke up and they all did their own things, and I totally get that. But for him to say that he didn't believe Egon, that something was on the horizon, is just kind of doesn't make sense. But other than that, I think it was fine.
Especially after the events of the first and second films.
Sure. Like, if anybody's going to believe Egon, it's going to be Ray, right?
Right. But part of that, too, is I feel like they had to use Aykroyd for that scene because Ray's occult is so iconic from the second film. And it's like, you're not going to hand it like to any of the other main three that are left. And it's like, all right, yeah, I guess like Winston maybe would have not believed him, but I feel like it had to be Ray for that to make sense. But I get what you're saying. Like, that was a little odd.
That's what I mean. I just wish there was a little bit more meat there. Like, maybe if like Egon was being cryptic about it because he wasn't sure yet,
right?
And then figures it out because he mentions that they went back to the firehouse and like he cleaned everything out. He took the Ecto 1, he took all the fucking packs, he took everything and just split
all the traps.
And I don't think that would be it. That's not a very, I don't know.
Well, and even his daughter, Callie, she even says like. Because after they go home after they're arrested, Paige is sitting there crying, like, why didn't you tell me, my grandfather was a Ghostbuster? And like, I never understood why I was so into science and all this, and it just never clicked, and like, why didn't you just tell me that? And then she's like, well, he was nuts. Nobody ever fucking knew anything about him. And she's like, he's not nuts. And she's like, well, then he's just an asshole. And it's like, man, like, if you don't have all the information that they get by the end of this movie, I guess you kind of would think he's an asshole.
No, sure. And, like, there's no pictures of her or anything like that. And I like her arc. I really hated her in the beginning, and then I was like, okay, this makes sense. Like, your dad threw you away or whatever. But the way that comes full circle at the end, I'm fucking into that, dude. Like, there's all the pictures on the wall, and she has like an interaction with Egon, like as a ghost, and he's like pointing the lights that he's been doing the whole movie, like to like get her to see that he didn't forget about her and that he's been following her and keeping up with all of her things that she's been doing, but also keeping her safe because he's been trying to keep Gozer in its fucking hole for how many years?
When he's doing that, the ghost of Egon, you can kind of see all these little notes he writes next to all the photos of her that he had saved on this board, and it's like, oh, she has 16 freckles now, and like weird facts that only Egon would write down.
Oh yeah, it's totally like, again, done with love, right? Like that's what he would do. You know what I mean?
And Paige even says at one point, once they go into this fucking this mine where Ivo Shandor had built this fucking shrine. Our four principal characters, basically.
The temple of I would even call it the Temple of Gozer, to tell you the truth. That's what it is.
Where they find this literal like pit. Essentially they're coming out of hell. These ghosts, these minions, and they see what Egon's trap is, where he has all the proton packs set up that are blasting these ghosts back into the hole.
And that's what the earthquakes are.
Exactly.
Which is cool.
I like that a lot. And then that's when Paige kind of puts it all together and is like, our grandfather, he wasn't nuts. He wasn't like an asshole. Like, he came out here, he sacrificed everything, his friends, his loved ones, his life, really, to try to stop this.
To save the world.
Yeah.
When nobody would believe him, you know?
Exactly. And like, even in that opening scene before he gets taken out, you see like this really cool shot of this like swirling, I don't even know what to call it, like hurricane almost looking above the mountain, which comes back later, of spirits that he just shooting the proton stream into the air. And I guess that's how he ends up capturing the ghost initially.
Yeah.
But then that starts to happen again because we have the return of Vince Clortho and Zool, which I guess that was a little spoiled in the trailers, which it did kind of bum me out a little bit that we kind of knew. But as you're watching the movie, it's like, who else is going to be this role other than the mom and Paul Rudd? And there's that great scene that was in the one trailer where he's in the Walmart where all the mini Stay Puffs show up.
I like those mini Stay Puffs, dude. I thought it was going to break the film for me, but I liked them. I thought they were funny as hell.
They were fine. I totally get people comparing them to like Minions or Baby Yoda or some shit. Like, I get it, but I thought they were fine. And they were like sick, honestly. Like they're fucking like blending each other and lighting each other on fire.
They were more like the cookies from Krampus. than anything. Like the gingerbread cookies.
Yeah, or like gremlins almost.
They're like half gremlin, half fucking, half cute and cuddly. I mean, I would even like Mom and Dad Save the World, those little mushrooms that are in the fucking sewer.
Because they just like make this like sound like, oh, it's like, what the fuck? And, like, they're kind of antagonistic, honestly. Like, even though, like...
Oh, big time.
They're definitely, like, pantomiming towards the camera a few times, like, in comedic fashion. But for the most part, they're kind of problematic. Because, like, later in the movie, when they're really trying to, like, take care of business, like, they're, like, getting inside, like, the proton pack and, like, fucking it up.
Oh, yeah, they're fucking a bunch of stuff up. I just want to go back to the mine real quick.
Yeah.
This is the part I like, too, because there's, like, a Sumerian calendar, like, in... the Temple of Gozer, and it was like a countdown, and one of the dates was 1984. So that's when Gozer was able to come back, and then the next one, they all hit like different disasters.
Yeah, one of those was the Easter egg hunt at the factory.
Yeah, well, yeah. So the only problem I have with that is, like, I guess something thwarted Gozer at whatever point, but, I mean, it wasn't the Ghostbusters, it was something else. Who knows what it was?
Pennywise.
Yeah, Pennywise. Right? Yeah, it was the turtle that stopped him. But the next thing was 2021, which, it's fine with me. Like,
yeah.
I thought that was a good way to do it and handle it or whatever. And speaking of, I don't know, is there anything else you want to say before we get to Gozer?
I don't know. I mean, I could really go more into it, but I feel like I kind of said everything that I wanted to say about, like, the rest of the movie.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin, like, too much of it. As an experience.
And also, like, we are, even though this is a ripe review, like, we have been trying over the last few months on our main episodes, too, to kind of just not do literal beat for beat, so I don't want to literally cover the whole movie with that in mind, too.
Right, and that's not what ripe reviews are anyway.
I guess one other thing I'll say real quick is that Finn Wolfhard, I feel like, was a little underutilized in this. He's good when he's in, but, like, the first half of the film, he's kind of just, like, going through the motions, like, kind of, like, working at the burger joint, getting kind of picked on. But then as soon as Muncher is introduced... He is, like, in the movie pretty much for the rest of it.
The focus is very much Mckenna Grace, but I'm okay with that. And I'm glad Finn Wolfhard isn't a super big part of it. I mean, he's a big part of it, but he's not, like, the main focus. That would have made it feel more like Stranger Things, or, like, that would have been more of ammo for people to be like, this is just Stranger Things. Blah.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, because the dude's a really good actor, and it's kind of shitty that just because because the same thing happened with It.
Yeah.
I mean, joking about Pennywise, but when the It Part 1 came out, it's like, oh, this is going to be like Stranger Things. It's like, it's a bunch of kid actors, and Finn Wolfhard's a really good kid actor. What are you talking about?
Again, what do you think Stranger Things took the cues from, you fucking dumb motherfuckers? All of those other kid movies that were adult-orientated, well, like teen, young adult-orientated, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, to say that, it's like, I don't know. I think it's null and void, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention that because it didn't really take away from the film at all, but that was just something that I was thinking about.
Sure.
The terror dogs are really cool in this.
Yeah, they look great. When they're practical, they are fucking gorgeous. And even when they're CG, they're fine, too.
I kind of like the joke, kind of a meta joke that they throw in there where one of them's eating out of a bag of dog food.
Yeah.
And you have, like, I guess that was a practical effect with the slime coming off the mouth, the slobber.
Yeah, that was a practical animatronic.
Oh, and one other thing, now that I thought about that, Paul Rudd, they open up this fucking ghost trap and accidentally release this terror dog.
Yeah. Oh, that was great.
And it just blows all the windows off the bus and his fucking car, and he's driving, and it's like Homer Simpson at the end of the New York City episode. And they have the scene when he's running away from the terror dog like Louis Tully out of the Walmart, and he just fucking dolphin dives into the fucking driver's seat through the windshield.
Oh, it was great. Okay, let's talk about that real quick. People are also giving this shit because it's like, these kids never heard about Ghostbusters or whatever, and then they tell them, they're like, yeah, you never heard about Ghostbusters or whatever? And I guess if you're not, like, into that shit, like, again, how many fucking kids... I've seen all of those comedy shows that go up to people on the street and ask them questions about history and shit, and they don't know the fucking answers. So what is so bizarre that in this universe, when somebody's asked about the Ghostbusters, they go, who? Who the fuck is that? That happened like 30-something years ago. Like, who gives a shit?
There's that, which I agree with, but it's also the factor that their mom is going out of their way to, like, hide this shit from them because she's embarrassed for her father.
She's not embarrassed. She has so much hatred for him because he...
Well, right, yeah.
He quote-unquote abandoned her, you know what I mean? So, like, I get that. And she has hate towards science because... I don't know. I guess she doesn't want her kids to be consumed by it either. And she sees Mckenna Grace going down that path, and by doing that, they become more disassociative of each other, you know?
Even her son, to a point. I mean, even though he's got a little help from Spectral Egon from Grandpa to fix the car, he's fixing a car at 15. That's pretty impressive.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, he's only 15, dude.
Yeah, which was, I thought that was a funny joke because he applies for the job at 17 to try to look cool, and yeah, he's 15.
Oh, he's trying to pick up what's-her-face?
Lucky.
Yeah, Lucky, I think her name is.
But yeah, okay, let's get to the big climax.
Okay, here we go, baby.
Where they put on the suits, and I love how Podcast writes his fucking name on his.
It's so good. He puts like the Vince Clortho like helmet on and shit when they're in the basement. Like, I don't know. I thought that was cool and cute. And like, now you gotta understand, this character is like a big nerd, and he knows about the Ghostbusters.
He's the Aykroyd of this movie, man. He's the Stans of this film.
Oh, 100%. You know, and he loves paranormal shit. He has a podcast about strange, unusual, unsolved mysteries shit, and loves cryptozoology and ghosts and all kinds of stuff like that, and aliens and stuff. So it makes sense. It's not like, here's this fucking kid knowing all this stuff, because he kind of inherits the Tobin Spirit Guide book at one point in the movie.
Yes.
Because Egon's farmhouse is full of, like, relics and shit.
I would even say that, you know, if you're going to make those connections, like we're talking about now, I feel like Finn Wolfhard kind of was like the kid Venkman to a point, because he had, like, one good one-liner after another whenever he was on screen.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I mean, you're not going to go, you know, round for round with Bill Murray. I'm not trying to say that, but he had a lot of really funny lines.
No, and as far as the comedy goes, somebody said this wasn't funny, and it's like, well, that's subjective.
I was laughing a lot.
I laughed a lot, dude, and I'm like, go watch that first movie again and see what kind of comedy it is. Yeah, there's dirty jokes in there for sure, but a lot of the laughs aren't dirty. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. But okay.
So here we are.
The Traveler has come.
The Traveler has come, yep. There is no Destructor, which was kind of odd.
Yeah.
But I don't think they got a chance to do that.
Do you know who played Gozer? Because I looked this up earlier.
I do not. My wife was like, oh my god, that's what's-her-face from whatever. And I'm like, I don't know what or who that is.
She went uncredited, but it was Olivia Wilde.
Who the fuck is that? I don't know.
She's in a ton of shit that I can't think of off the top of my head, but she's a very good actress.
I thought it was great because I didn't know who it was.
Well, yeah, they don't want you to, because they're trying to match that original visage as much as possible.
Yeah, and they kind of nail it. And like, I'm so happy that I couldn't recognize the actress, because I'm like,
oh yeah,
okay, here it comes. I'm like, here comes Flat Top. Here she comes out of the fucking hole, or they come out of the fucking hole.
Right, because it's supposed to be like they're androgynous.
Yeah.
Although Ivo Shandor, when he comes out of his fucking Stalin ass glass box,
I loved how he was in his fucking Snow White coffin, like right in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I was into that, dude. He's like, oh, we finally did it. We brought you back, Gozer. Here we are. And Gozer fucking rips him in half because he's like, we're gonna rule the world together.
Yeah. Gozer's like, what? Nah.
Good night.
And then I love how they it's basically the temple from the first one, but it's like comes out of the rock face.
I think it's like the OG temple, really.
Yes. And then, you know, at this point, they all got the Ecto 1 and all the traps and all that shit. They got it back from the police department, and they're waiting. They're staking it out. And this is a scene that I wasn't crazy about, but I like that it gets us to the end of the movie where Paige is telling these, like, bad science jokes that she tells throughout the movie.
Okay, wait. Before you get into that, I just want to say the one other scene in this movie that I didn't like. It was the first one was or that I had a problem with, or my gripe rather, and that was Paul Rudd and the mom coming together to like have sex as Vince Clortho and Zool, because like it's like too goofy for me.
Yeah. Like they do nail those performances, like kind of basing it off Sigourney and Rick Moranis.
I don't like how she like rips her clothes off and she has like the fucking same dress on and stuff, and I'm like, is that just inherent when you get possessed by Zool to have that? And it's just kind of like, I could have done without that, and like this scene is just so goofy.
Yeah.
And I know it's supposed to be goofy.
I like the clothes ripping off to the dress. I actually did like that, but I didn't like Paul Rudd having the flower on his ear and then hands it to her and she eats it. I thought that was stupid.
Yeah, I just didn't need it. You know what I mean? You could have kissed Nerdy Guy and it would have been funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like the original. If you're gonna do it, if you're gonna go down the fucking path, that's all you needed. Other than that, though, it was fine. So continue.
But, they're trying to play up this whole thing that she tells these bad science jokes, and I get it. It's like a through line throughout the film, and the only one that ever gets the jokes is Podcast and Paul Rudd.
But it's like a play on the fucking Ray thing, you know?
Yeah, of course. And Gozer...
Go get her, Ray!
Yeah, and Gozer's just kind of watching, and you see, like, after, like, the second joke, Gozer's, like, getting out of the chair, like, all right, fuck this. But the whole time, Podcast has the remote control trap, and I love that, because... Of course, just catch one of the fucking terror dogs. Obviously, that's what Egon was trying to do before, and like...
Because Zool can't exist without both of them.
Right, so then I love how they do this thing where, like, Gozer starts, like, morphing and, like, losing their, like, appearance.
It's really fucking cool. So, like... I really, so now that you've brought it up, like, I really love that aspect that they literally capture Zool in a fucking trap.
Yeah.
And Gozer is split, so now Gozer is, like... half on our plane and has this kind of weird, like, parasitic, like, tendril body form that's not quite solid. It's really cool. I'm into it.
Yeah, and then they have, like, another chase scene to get back to the dirt farm where Vince Clortho, the Keymaster, is chasing after him and the RC car that has Zool in it. But they, of course, make it all the way back to the dirt farm, and now this, like, typhoon is back above the dirt farm.
Yeah. Also, Mckenna Grace has figured out that the farm is a giant trap. So that's the whole point, that's what Egon was trying to do in the beginning, was capture one of the terror dogs, and Gozer needs the other one to be whole, so of course he can lure Gozer with that to this giant trap.
Exactly, because they have, like, almost like a Beetlejuice-ass, like, a model of the property in this
in the basement.
This crawl. Yeah, exactly. So they get back there and they're fighting Gozer. Gozer comes out of, like, the cornfield. I love how they have a callback to the beginning of the movie, because us sitting in the theater, no, this isn't going to work, because that's what caused Egon to die, basically, was this pedal that activates the trap, like the power goes out.
There wasn't enough power, yeah.
So they try this, they're convinced it's going to work, and it's the same damn thing that happened to Egon in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
But I love how Gozer just, like, takes the trap, rips it open, and is like, all right, yeah, Lucky, you're going to be Zool now.
Man, oh, yeah, and just fuck you, and Lucky's now Zool. I loved when she comes out of, or Lucky comes out of the house with the proton pack, and she blasts Zool.
Yes.
Or at Gozer, and Gozer just fucking breaks the beam. It was like, oh,
yeah.
Fuck. Like, I don't know, that was just something that we haven't seen before in these movies, and I was going to say Vigo, and we talked about that, how, like, the painting was his weakness, not the actual being when he was, like, out of it.
It's also that thing in Ghostbusters 1, it's like they shoot, they aim for the flat top, and then she is immediately, evaporated, and then Stay Puft comes in.
Right, well, she dissipates, though. Like, it's not the same thing. They never got a beat on her, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Right, but I like this, like, what you're saying is that Gozer is blowing these beams off of her constantly.
I was just like, oh my goodness.
And then, of course, the chips seem like they're down, they're never going to recover, and then our OG Ghostbusters come in with, I think Venkman throws out the flat top line or a variation of it.
Oh, yeah. Hey, flat top, he says. Now, okay, before we go any further, is one more thing I want to address. I saw people saying, yeah, the Ghostbusters just show up out of nowhere. And it's like, you have to understand that these guys were super tight, right? Especially Ray with Egon.
Oh, yeah.
So for him to tell him to fuck off and then Mckenna Grace call him and be like, look, something's up, and he was my uncle, is cause enough to him to look into it. And when he notices all the shit and puts all the pieces together, because he is Ray, right? So, like...
Oh, yeah.
Like, if Ray, sees the seismic activity and all that shit that's happening there and is like, this is unusual, I'm going to go down there, he's like, I got to get the guys, you know what I mean? I'm going to call Venkman, I'm going to call Zeddemore, and we're going to fucking go down there. So, like, it makes sense. Look, it is the kind of, like, show about the last minute hero thing, but I don't think it's unearned or weird, in my opinion.
No. And I kind of love how they each kind of get a quip. Venkman, of course, not taking it seriously. Ray, I love the fucking Ray callback to the first one.
Yeah.
Are you a god? And fucking Winston and Peter are just like, come on, Ray, really?
Come on, man.
He's like, yes, we all are.
I love how he tries it again, though. He's like, you got to return to your plane of a former existence.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, basically the same line, but he changes it up a little bit to fit Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And mind you, again, like this typhoon hurricane thing that's like just spirits swirling around this dirt farm.
Spirits and people fear it, man. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we, of course, cross the streams. which I love seeing, but it doesn't work this time.
Gozer gets hit by the fucking crossbeam and breaks that too. And then fucking flips the 3 OGs over the fucking Ecto 1.
Which I was really happy about, because I feel like it would have been really dumb if they just showed up and immediately won. Because they had this whole trap situation they've been setting up for fucking 90 minutes.
Oh, they get spanked, and it's funny because Murray's like, I don't remember hurting this bad, and fucking Winston gets up, he's like, I do. Ernie Hudson, by the way, the fucking MVP of this movie.
75, by the way.
Yeah.
He doesn't look a day over 60.
He's so handsome, and he's just bringing the goods. He is so fucking happy to be there, my goodness.
He's the sex appeal, as we found out at the in that post-credit scene. Which we'll get to before we wrap this up. But I love how they have like one last gag with the mini Stay Puffs, where they're, like I said earlier, they're fucking up like the proton stream, so Trevor can't get it to activate. But Podcast is in the Ecto 1 just smashing these things, and by the end of the movie, he comes out looking like Ray at the end with the marshmallows all over him.
He's blowing them up with like the ghost taser, man. I thought that was funny as hell.
Oh, yeah. So then Finn Wolfhard finally gets his work in, and he realizes that, they got to power this trap situation, these 100 traps that are under the dirt. And I love how he gets the idea to just shoot this like giant grid that failed previously. And then, of course, all these traps light up at the same time while the 3 original Ghostbusters, Paige, and even Harold Ramis, Egon himself, his ghost are there, and they're all kind of going at it and firing at Gozer as Gozer and all their minions get taken out.
Yeah, well, so before Finn Wolfhard shoots that thing, Mckenna Grace steps up to save the 3 OGs.
Oh, yeah, that was awesome.
And she's just like, get away from her, you bit. No, she doesn't say that. But she shoots Gozer with the fucking pack, dude, and she's getting, like, pushed back by Gozer's, like, beams.
This is like Gohan versus Cell.
I'm into it, man. And then you just see that ghostly hand, like, grab the Neutrona wand and like help her like steady and like hold her, and it was just like, oh fuck, like,
and then like all the Ghostbusters are tearing up, but Ray especially is like, oh my god, I knew you'd come.
And Harold Ramis looks so good. They did such a great job.
Yeah.
On his character, the CG character, and then they're all fucking standing together again. Like,
oh my god, I'll give it a week or two, but I gotta fucking post that somewhere, whether it's just on my personal Facebook or what. But that was such an image.
It was great, and they just look at each other. Now, the best thing they could have done is what they did. They didn't have him speak.
Yeah.
And I'm into that, right? Like, they didn't need him to say anything because he didn't have to.
No, he and then, of course, when they defeat Gozer, I love how he gets a moment with his family before he goes back to the afterlife, or to the afterlife, rather.
He makes amends. He sees Mckenna Grace, and he sees Finn, and then he hugs his daughter, and then dissipates into the ether, and it's really sweet and sentimental and fucking great. And then, of course, Venkman breaks the sentimental shit, and he's like, all right, I guess we're all gonna go inside for some hot cocoa or whatever.
Bill Murray's fine in this, but I feel like he's out of the 3. He was the least enthusiastic, but
I think he's just old, man.
Yeah. Too many Wes Anderson movies on his belt. Not a complaint. I'm just saying he's a little bit more pulled back in a lot of those films.
And then that's kind of it. One thing I wanted to note was Gozer doesn't have like that bubbly hair shit all over them this time. It's like this kind of like bony, spiky structure. I was into it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I thought that was fine. And I kind of love how the movie ends with the mid-credit scene where you see...
Oh, yeah. So it ends, and I was like, that was great. But then one of the last names you see is Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, yeah.
And Sean out loud in the theater is like, well, Sigourney Weaver? I didn't see Sigourney Weaver. And right when he says that, it cuts to like a scene of like Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver doing the fucking... the
electric chess.
The ESP cards from the first film.
Yeah, that was perfect. That was a great little joke.
I thought that was a cute little thing to have her in it.
That they're married. I mean, you could see in the trailer, Venkman's got the wedding ring on. Where's Oscar? That's what I want to know. Is he going to be in this sequel?
Hey, man, he's going to be in the sequel, yeah. No, it's a sweet little, like, this is what happened, and it was like a happily ever after kind of thing, which was fine. And especially, and again, I can see them doing that, especially with the blowback from fucking Star Wars and all that stuff, and I think that might have influenced a little bit, but I also think that, like, Yeah, that totally would have happened because we're not in a galaxy far, far away. Like, they would have gotten together, especially after Ghostbusters 2, and that's it.
And also, like, you can't do Ghostbusters, like, as a continuation without Sigourney Weaver. Like, you just can't. Even in that little cameo, she was perfect.
We forgot to mention Annie Potts, which is the best part.
Oh, yeah, that was funny as hell when they first get to the dirt farm, because they get evicted from their house.
Yeah.
And she's, like, the realtor, and she's trying to, like, warm up to him, like, yeah, Egon, he was a great man. But they're like, oh, is this all he left us? He's like, yeah, I left you a mountain of debt, too.
Well, she infers, the mom infers, I'm sorry, I forgot her name. The mom infers that, like, was Annie Potts, like, seeing him, and she's like, what are you talking about? She's like, I just kept the fucking power on. What are you talking about? I'm just, I just handle the phones or whatever.
Which then you find out in this post-credit scene, Winston went on to build this massive business. You don't really find out exactly what it is, some kind of sales business, or maybe it's like a coaching kind of thing. Like, you don't know. It's just Winston's very successful.
It's a great way that they do it, too, because they use the deleted scene from the first film.
Yes.
With the World's Fair coin.
Right, Egon giving it to her at the end of the first movie.
And the joke is that she's like, she's all right, you could take it, I got another one at home. And then it cuts to her with the coin. And then it's her in Winston's office.
Oh, I love how Winston says, they gave me the tools and the talent.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm with that. And, like, it's cool because, again, we talked about it briefly on those watch-alongs, but, like, one of the original ideas was that Ghostbusters Inc. thing where it was, like, all over the world, and now Winston has the power to do that. And he's like, well, maybe, he says, I'm a wealthy businessman, I've done this, I'm that, but I'll always be a Ghostbuster, he says.
Yeah. And you kind of get the idea that, through Janine, I would assume Winston was keeping that dirt farm, the bills paid, much like he's paying for Ray's bookshop.
Oh, yeah, he's paying for fucking Ray's bookshop. They straight up say that. And, like, it's just kind of a sweet thing. And
he's paying it forward.
Yeah, he's paying it forward, and he ends up buying the firehouse back. And he didn't know where Ecto 1 was, and he finally gets it back, and that last shot is Ecto 1 getting pulled into the fucking firehouse, and he puts his hand on it and, like, pats it, and, like...
Yeah, well, he says back at the farmhouse, he's like, oh, I'm gonna get you all fixed up, baby.
Oh, yeah. Which
I love, because there's a little bit of that in the first two films, but I feel like that's a little bit more so from the cartoon, but I really love that. I literally said in the theater, that's all I wanted from Winston. I was like, oh, I love it.
Winston, again, like, he's the best. Winston's the best.
Again, he says it. We already joked about it a couple times on this and on the stream, but he tells Janine like what everybody was in the movie. I can't remember what he refers to. Like, I think he says like, oh yeah, raise the heart. But the fact that he's like, I'm the sex appeal, because she's like, oh, what were you? He's like, sex appeal.
Oh yeah. He goes. I think he says Egon was the brains, Ray was the heart, and Venkman was the style, and I was the sex appeal. I don't know. I'm into that. I thought that was funny as hell.
But the actual last shot of this film, in the post credits at least, is a shot of the fucking containment unit with the light blinking red.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, if you want to get technical, the last shot of this is a blink and you'll fucking miss it logo of the little Stay Puft guy with the fucking the no ghost symbol over him.
I kind of thought that was hilarious, but I hope if they make a sequel, that's not the logo.
I don't mind it. So with that being said, right, all of this whole review being said, this Ripe review, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I don't think it was the best movie ever. I thought it was a great closing to that 3. We finally got Ghostbusters 3, and I'm okay with this final product. And, like, if we go beyond this, Godspeed. Maybe I won't be there for all of it. I'll definitely check it out, but I'm glad that we got this. It was like the end of the we finally reached the nirvana of the series, I guess is what I'm saying, the afterlife of the series, here it is.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see if this gets a sequel. I mean, I don't know how well it's doing, but I guess, only time will tell. And
last time I checked, it was $60 million at the box office.
Okay, well, that's not too bad, actually. Because, they could go a couple different directions with it. We could come back with, the characters from this film, or maybe they just say, let's introduce a new set of characters. Maybe that's when you get your adult Ghostbusters.
But I'm okay with that, especially if Winston starts like the Ghostbusters Inc. thing and like a training thing. Like, I'm kind of into that.
Same.
However, somebody asked Jason Reitman about the ties to Ghostbusters 2 and how it kind of ignores it, and it definitely does not ignore Ghostbusters 2. It's just it has a broader focus on Ghostbusters 1.
Right, because Ray mentions it straight up when he's on the phone with Paige.
Ray mentions it, the toasters in the movie, all kinds of little things like that. But Jason Reitman was like, oh, yeah, well, if the sequel's greenlit, we're going to explore some other things with that, kind of harkening back to the second one and stuff. And it's like, please, for the love of Christ, look, you did it. You had your Force Awakens, right? I do not want to see Vigo again. I just don't. I don't want to see them do that again.
No, God. Now that would be a mistake.
Like you bridge the gap. Now let's try something different, right? You took the old with the new, and you made this movie. Now this is what now going forward is what they should have done with like Star Wars. Like now it's the new characters.
Yeah,
and that's fine with a little peppering of the old ones. Like put Winston in there. I'm fine with that. Put Rey in there. I'm fine with put them all in there. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even need Bill Murray. He could have a cameo at most. We don't need him as long as you got the other two. I'm fine.
No, totally. And like they don't even need to have gigantic parts in it. Like that's okay with me. But just do something different. You don't need to go back to the fucking well. Now you have the freedom to, you've broken the barrier, right? Like you've gone from the old to the new, and now we're into the new. So let's see. If you're going to go for a sequel, I don't mind callbacks, but make it its own thing now at this point.
Yeah, I have to agree. I'll be one of the first people to say if it's good or bad.
Oh, sure.
But let's wait and see. In a few years, maybe we'll have another Ghostbusters Rep review.
Yeah. I had a great time. I know Sean had a great time. Definitely go check this out for yourself. This is not going to be for everybody. And if this is not your fucking sauce to begin with, and you're one of those fucking elitist assholes for the first movie and hate the second one and all that, like, you're going to hate this one. So don't even bother. But if you're looking for a good time, especially if you got kids, it's a good time to be alive because this fucking film feels really good, cozy, and fresh, and a lot of fun. A lot of fun, I gotta say.
Yeah, it's absolutely fresh. I will have to agree with that.
We were cheering. We were laughing. I cried. I don't know about Sean. I was crying.
Nah, I didn't cry. I can't say that, but I did like it a lot.
I wasn't weeping in the middle of the theater, but I had tears going down the face for sure. It hits the notes that I wanted it to. It might not be the film that I always wanted in my head, but it was a good film, put it that way.
I totally agree.
And yeah, I don't even know the next Ripe review that's coming, but we will catch you.
Baby Oopsie Daisy.
Oh, Christ, yeah, we still got to do Baby Oopsie Daisy. That's coming.
That might not be till 2022 at this point, but it's coming eventually, guys.
It's coming. We'll do something special for that because I want to revisit Demonic Toys and maybe Demonic Toys vs. Dollman or something, or Demonic Toys 2 or something, and kind of patch it all in together and do like a little special on it. That'd be nice. Maybe even get William Butler on the show. Let's see how it goes. But until next time, folks, we will catch you on the next Ripe Reviews.
If you want some more good, bad, and god-awful movie goodness, head over to MovieDumpsterPodcast.com and follow us on all of your favorite social media and streaming platforms.
You can also head on over to our Patreon page and sign up for the $2, $5, or $10 tiers for monthly exclusive content, or drop by our merch store and grab yourself some non-committal swag.
Yeah, for no money at all, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts to support your favorite show.